I'm Miles Bulmer. I'm a junior at University of South Florida. I transferred from St. Petersburg College, and this is my first semester here. I go by Miles Bulmer, but Mylan Bulmer is my real name, and I go by both sometimes. Uh, to give a little introduction to Global Goal 16, it's basically a goal that aims to promote equality and justice for disadvantaged groups and help set up institutions where there's no bias, and hopefully this will like no bias in you know justice helps lower and reduce crimes. Uh, I personally understand this mission because it affects my friends. Some of my friends who happen to be African American. I'll give you one example. My friend James has been pulled over 3 or 4 times in his driving career, which is like 6 years, so like one maybe a year. But I've been driving even longer than that, and then I've never been pulled over. And for the record, James drives safer than me, never been in a car accident, and always uses his turn signals and all that stuff. So, and it's always for his his tickets and stuff seem petty compared to me when I've never even been pulled over, and I feel like I do possibly worse than him. The source of media I chose for this assignment, I chose uh, a video by an artist by Lil Baby called "The Bigger Picture." It was released to audiences on June 12th, 2020. The Bigger Picture, as you could probably guess, released around 2020, addresses the urgent need for justice, accountability around the time of George Floyd's death. Um, Lil Baby talks about systematic racism, trying to look inwardly onto the culture of America instead of just saying it's one bad cop or stuff that just kind of is more luck based in the sense that it was one bad cop or one bad kid, so and so. But he says to look inward beyond, societal issues beyond race, and advocates for progress in the pursuit of change. The first term that I from the book that I related to this video, Lil Baby's video, was a self-serving bias, uh, which is on page 32, chapter 3. The self-serving bias describes our tendency to attribute our success to factors that are come from us, and our failures from factors that come from external factors. So basically, uh, taking in the glory when you do it, but excluding the blame when it happens to you as well, in simpler terms. Uh, this basically relates to the video because Lil Baby points out that law enforcement uh, justify the violence by blaming victims rather than acknowledging systematic racism or institutional failures. One example of this is when instead of authorities may claim that victim was like a threat rather than admitting a police like made a mistake in the sense. So never kind of looking inwardly when the police make a mistake, but when when something goes wrong against the police, they like, okay, then they blame them. But when things go right for them, they blame themselves. They say, okay, we did a good job. So that's basically what Lil Baby is pointing at in that song. The next thing I chose was perception. I feel like perception is probably the biggest factor when it comes to justice and equality, and why it's hard for certain groups to get along because we all come from different points of view, and I feel like that's probably the main reason why. Uh, Perception is on page 31, chapter 3, and refers to how individuals interpret the world based on their experiences in life. Uh, Lil Baby describes the lived experiences of blacks experiences, uh, and who perceives the police as a threat rather than protectors. This is due to violence and kind of passed down generations, and a lot of the black community gets this perception of um, kind of like a bad perception of what cops may be because it's been passed down to generations. Another way the perception can be affected is through media, and you know, media has a big effect on how basically the whole world views one thing. So when the media is putting a big spotlight on the perception of that cops are out for black people and then black people are out for cops, it may lead to, like just say conflict, I guess. And that's kind of what Lil Baby points to and says that uh, to basically wrap up, the final connections between Lil Baby's and Lil Baby's song and Lil Baby's song in Global Goal 16 is that self-serving bias and perception and stereotypes contribute to um, police brutality and the ongoing, I guess, discriminatory between um, groups of people in America.